I'd like to call Jesse Thompson, please.
Ms. Thompson, if you'd come forward, please. We're gonna have a seat right over here, but before you get there, I'm gonna swear you in.
Ms. Thompson, thank you for being here today. You employed?
I'm the owner and therapist of Lasting Peace Counseling here in Gaylord.
Okay. And what kind of counseling do you do?
Primarily, we do trauma counseling. We work with children, families, and marriage counseling.
Okay. And do you hold any degrees or certification to make qualify you as a counselor?
Yes, I'm fully licensed in the state of Michigan with my master's in social work with a clinical focus, and also have a variety of different trainings in evidence-based therapeutic strategies.
Okay. How long have you held the title of a trauma therapist?
Since 2017.
Okay. And approximately how many people have been under your care?
I would stipulate, Judge, she's testified in this case several times. I think she's been qualified. Unless the court needs to remake that record.
At some point, I was going to ask to qualify Ms. Thompson as an expert in trauma therapy.
Any objection to that, Mr. Newland?
None.
She will be so qualified.
Stop with that. Are you providing therapy for Erica and Evan Neerman?
Yes.
Okay. And how long have you been counseling those children?
Since April of 2024.
So it's been about 15 months?
Yes.
Okay. And what is the frequency of the counseling?
They are coming in once a week.
Okay. And since the last court hearing, it was directed by the court that they would go to your office. Has that occurred?
Yes.
Okay. And what is the nature? I mean, what do you guys talk about?
We started back in this entire case, since the onset of our services, has really been about trauma that they've endured and the situation that they're in. So we've talked a lot about different things, different ways that trauma affects their brains and their bodies and their behaviors. We've talked about their families, the family of origin. Since then, we have built up to talk about revisiting their biological mother, Mrs. Neerman. And so that has been the focus of counseling since we started back up in May of this year.
Okay. And have the children, would you say that this is a pretty difficult case for you?
Yes.
Okay. And the source of the trauma for the children, is it something that the kids have done, or is it something external?
The source of the trauma comes from multiple removals from their mom, and then the departure of their father due to an overdose. And the situation at hand now is they're experiencing some trauma as we are trying to reintroduce mom to them.
Okay. And how close have we come to having an actual visit with mom?
We have treaded very lightly with this. We've been very gentle with the kids. We've done some things I've testified on previously, different gradual exposure techniques to her. So we're not trying to immerse them completely in seeing her again. It's been a very long time since they've seen her. Their last interaction with her was negative. A lot of their memories associated with her are negative. So there was a lot of healing that needed to be done and prep before we could introduce the idea of mom at all. So we had done a lot of groundwork. When I say we, I'm referring to myself and my colleague, Miss Lori Miller, who will be testifying later. So we gave them lots of skills on how to regulate their bodies. That's why we talk so much about how scary things can affect them and how they can manage them and how they can have control over them. So we've taught them many skills over the course of April of 24, just how to gain control of that. So that has been going, according to Miss Miller and I, that has been going great since we reintroduced them back to the office in May. of this year. They've showed us their skills. They are demonstrating them. They're utilizing all the strategies that we have taught them. And so once we had determined, yep, they're handling things a lot better than they used to, we started reintroducing mom. And so that started with just little clay figures that we had them build of their current family they live with, and then introduced some ideas about the biological family to them. They only brought up their biological brother and sister during those sessions. And then from there, as we had seen that they were composing themselves, they were using skills, we had Miss Neerman write a letter to them. And then we read that letter to them in session, and we had their foster mother, Miss Webb, attend that session for extra support. So what we had witnessed in that session is previously, if we would have brought Miss Neerman up to them, they would shut down completely. Evan would try to like run or leave or just ignore us, and where Erica would just become completely blank. And in this session, they were both engaged. They were like, I had them make little stop signs to tell us, like, if this is too much, just let us know with the stop sign. We can stop anytime. Checked in with them several times, and they did not put their stop signs up, so we kept going. From there, there were some behaviors reported in the foster home, as we had anticipated would happen. This is really, really hard stuff. And so we had slowed down a little bit. We changed pace. From there, they didn't want to come back, and that has happened previously. And this has been a pattern where they wouldn't come back and sessions would stop. So Miss Webb brought her sister to the next few sessions to help with support to get the kids there. And there were a couple sessions that we just did outside with them. They didn't want to come in, so we just did them outside or did them in the car, where Miss Webb was there the entire time. So she was present during those sessions. And then eventually at the end, right before sessions were about to end, they would ask to come in, so that where they wanted to show us a craft or get a snack or whatever the case may be. So that was good. So we'd bring them in for a quick few minutes and then bring them out. We had a few more sessions just building up their tolerance levels again. And we had introduced a picture of Miss Neerman. So that would be the All About Me document. And that was just like, this is some stuff about your mom. This is things that she likes. These are interests. And I'll note during that session, prior to me saying all of that to them, they were really hyper, and they like to run around on the furniture. And this is what they do this is their kind of, I don't know, like, oh, they just do that every time they come in, just to settle. Once I started talking about Miss Neerman, they got quiet and they came very close to me, and then I was reading it, and they were even reading off the paper with me. And they were, again, present, regulated. While they were a little quieter and calmer, they were still very much engaged. After that session, we had done a phone call with Miss Neerman. So that phone call lasted between 5 and 6 minutes. They said nothing, but they listened to her talk. She talked about different things like the dogs. She named them, and I had asked Erica, do you know those dogs? And she said, I know one of them. So they were present again. There wasn't shutting down. There wasn't running out of the room. And when that phone call was done, we continued on with our session. So that was just last Tuesday. That is the closest we have gotten to a visit. But with that, we would want to steadily increase the calls. It's my understanding they had a rough time after these sessions. So they've been, and this is through communication with their foster mom. So they just needed, of that night with that phone call, they needed to be kind of helped to go to sleep that night, and then didn't want to go to school the next morning, but did go to school. And there is an email that came through not yesterday, but the day before Wednesday, that I haven't read all the way yet, just to see kind of how the rest of the school day went. But we're really monitoring that. We don't want to they're already overwhelmed. We don't want to pour too heavy of a burden on them, but we're just kind of steadily going. This is the farthest we've been, and in session, again, like we feel like they have made leaps and bounds in their progress and being able to just stay engaged with us. And I do know Miss Webb is struggling with them at home, and we are wanting to advocate and support for her to have extra in-home services, but just not sure how that's feasible, what resource-wise, what we have available.
Okay. Do you think, I know you said you're doing this in a gradual way. Would there be any benefit to actually having, like, I guess, forcing a visit?
Something that I've gone back and forth on, because it's this balance of the anticipatory anxiety that they have because they know what's going on. They're aware. I think they're anticipating this visit to happen. And sometimes I'm weighing, is that harder on them than just doing it and seeing what, how it goes. And this isn't just, is it their behaviors? How are they handling it? It's also, how is Miss Neerman interacting with them? How are they responding to her? How is she responding to them? Is she utilizing the tools that we've used? So those are all things that we really would like to see. But again, that question, it's just, I don't know. That's just something that we've been sitting with and thinking about.
Okay, but would an opportunity like that give you, you'd be able to see firsthand how mom, based upon her services, if she was ready for the challenge?
Yes.
Okay. You also work with Miss Neerman too?
Yes.
Okay, and what is the frequency of that encounter?
We check in about weekly. She hasn't come into my office. We're doing primarily phone calls. We've done Zoom visits, and she's heavily involved with Miss Hunt, her own counselor. But my involvement with her is just to be reminding her of things that we've used, letting her know how the kids are doing, and just being really honest with her about the difficulties of how hard this is for them. And we've also had her and Miss Webb journaling back and forth. So that is something else that I'm involved with her on, is just, kind of like what to include, what would be important to ask, just trying to rebuild a relationship between the two of them.
You're aware that both the children's psychotropic medication has increased in dosage?
Yes.
And does that affect your providing treatment? Is that a good sign? That's what I'm trying to get at. I mean, ideally, wouldn't you want to see like the dosage go lower rather than increase?
Yes. Sometimes what happens when we get involved with trauma treatment and treating many people, it does get worse before it gets better. That's pretty common because we're re-exposing. And there are times where people and children will have to, just to take the edge off so that counseling will take impact. Sometimes medication does have to increase if they can't maintain, kind of say, get off the record player of anxiety. Sometimes we do see that, but eventually, yes, we would like to see them off everything and everybody be seen, because the brain knows exactly what it needs to do to heal on its own. It just sometimes needs some extra support.
So, what do you propose going forward?
I'm proposing that Miss Webb has somebody in her home to help her, because this will continue. These behaviors are going to continue. And I'm thinking we need to keep moving forward. We've already gotten so far into it. We've gotten to the phone call. Our plan would be to increase the length of the phone call and maybe talk with the team a little bit about what a visit would look like and how we could best support everybody in doing so.
Okay. You've talked about the children having behaviors after this slow reintroduction back to mom. What is your knowledge of their behaviors? specifically, if you know?
I know that there has been, I've witnessed some with Evan on the phone during a tantrum, and he's just running around the house. He's running in, he's running out, and he's screaming and crying. I know that he has hurt Erica. Miss Webb had provided a photo of a scratch on her leg, that he just becomes very angry, and he can be explosive and throwing things and spitting and hitting and scratching. Erica can become very emotional, and she's yelling also. I don't believe they are as explosive as Evans, but that's the extent of what I know.
Okay, and Erica has started equine therapy,
Yes.
and do you see that as something that's helpful?
Yes, I think it is helping her. And I've read the report, and even they are reporting that she started off at one place and now has really grown in her skills as well. So I do think it's a really good supplement to what we're doing.
How significant, and again, maybe you don't know the answer to this, but how significant do you think the shock of having that in-person visit, how significant will that be, or how will it affect the children?
I think we'll see a lot of what we've already seen.
And what would you be looking for in Miss Neerman if these behaviors happened and she was in the same room?
Just looking for her to be as objective as possible and not trying to take it too personally and getting upset with them or any of those things. We want to see her to be very nurturing and try to be as safe of a parent as possible, which would be remaining calm, trying to attune to their needs, just trying to see how she can sync up with them and meet them where they are. That's really what we'd be looking at, and just to kind of monitor her as we continue to go, like how can she connect with them? That's really what we're looking for.
Okay, so you are more in agreement with keeping this gradual approach of almost like stalking game, like you're slowly moving towards it and not spooking the animal.
Yeah, I think that's the best route. It's the gentlest one. But again, knowing that when we increase these, if they start to be resistant to counseling, coming forward, do we need to just reintroduce mom and really help them get closure either way? That's something that's still playing in the background. But as of today, I would recommend continuing how we have.
Okay, so Mr. Brown and I were talking yesterday, and we were just throwing out ideas about, maybe it would be a good idea to have kind of force a visit and then observe how things occur, how mom reacts. You don't think we're there yet?
I think it's going to hurt them. I think they're going to be hurting and struggling either way. So if I have the team behind us to do that, I think it might be better.
Okay, and then you mentioned something, and I'd like you to opine on it. You talked about that the kids having closure. Is that a two-way street?
Yes.
Okay, and then one of them would be something that this relationship is irreparable, like it can't be fixed.
Exactly.
Even silence speaks volumes as the bond with mom is tested.
And the other one would be like a breakthrough.
Yes.
Okay. So, are you having contact with the agency as far as just keeping them aware of like what's going on?
Yes, we have bi-weekly meetings scheduled. We don't always make them, and a lot of that's on our part because we have to adjust the
Mhm.
schedules, but yes, we are meeting twice a month. And then some occasional emails.
Okay, and what is, I know that Lori Miller, that she works for you, and why do we need two different counselors? She does more work with Erica, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So the plan for that originally was because Evan was receiving one-on-one counseling with CMH. And my role wasn't to provide trauma counseling just one-on-one with them to treat the trauma. My role was for reunification purposes and attachment purposes. And we thought at the time it would be really beneficial for Erica to be able to process some things with Miss Miller after our joint sessions. And that is how things have been going, and she is feeling more safe with Miss Miller, and she had been opening up more with her. But since we started reintroducing Mom, we've just been doing all the sessions together so that she monitors. She sees things I don't always see. So if I'm leading the session, then she can let me know. Like, for example, last week, Erica's face was flushed and her neck was red and Evan was really tense. And those are things I can't see when I'm facilitating a phone call.
Sure.
And so it's been a team approach to help overall make sure that the kids are getting what they need.
Okay. I guess another silly question, that do you have, I know we've been doing this for 15 months. Will we need like another 15 months?
This is really hard to determine.
Yeah, no, that's why I said it was silly. I mean,
Yeah,
we're talking about the future.
right.
You basically just have to go kind of like day by day and reaction by reaction.
Yes.
Thank you, Judge. I have nothing further.
Mr. Delaney.
Thank you. I don't have two questions. What would that look like for Mrs. Webb to have someone in the home? We spend more time in court. You guys are in the trenches, really. In your experience, does the department have someone? Can you send someone? What do you want the court to do in that regard?
There is an approach, parent-child interaction therapy, that has been proven to be really helpful in these exact situations. So it would be somebody that would come into her home and kind of monitor the entire situation and notice, okay, what's setting the behaviors off? How can we structure the home in a way that's really, really comforting and safe for them? And not that it's not, but just to be able to offer her some extra support, because it's her and it's them, and it's really, really difficult. We completely understand that, and it's not easy to do. She's a single parent doing all of these things. It doesn't have somebody else in there to help alleviate the burden. So that's what we'd be looking for, and maybe teaching her a little bit about regulating herself and anything that she could be doing to help assist them in calming, because I think that's where she's really struggling.
Do you have someone in your office that does that? Someone you can refer? Who would be the individual organization that could do that work?
There is somebody that actually the department had referred to us. Her name's Stacy Coach, and I believe Miss Redmond has reached out. I can't remember the status of that, or if she's available.
Coach as in a coach of a team. That spelling, the name of the person, Stacy, do you know?
It starts with a K, like
Okay.
Kouch. I'm guessing.
Okay. Any more information about that person in Gaylord, what the name of the agency is?
I know she was working for Mansalona Schools,
Okay.
but the department had said she does things around northern Michigan, so she's not just over there.
But the department has that contact information.
Yes.
Okay. Next question. The visit with Mom, is that something that you would like to take the lead on? In other words, that we would look to you to make that decision rather than either the court or the guardian or the department or even my office sort of deciding that for you? You're right at ground zero, if you will. Do you want to be the one to make that recommendation?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Brown.
Ms. Thompson, are you aware of the relationship now with Mr. Castle?
Yes,
Does he have children?
yes.
Are the children living there with him?
I'm not really sure of all that situation. Ms. Neerman had said they are there, but I don't know if they're living there.
How does that play into all this?
So those things are really where we work as a team, because my role would not to be looking at the home and what's going on in her home currently, but just that's what the department's doing. That's what Child and Family is doing. But our role is just to help facilitate attachment and bonding with Miss Neerman. If that were to go well, then those things would have to be considered, but that's really why we need the team approach, so that we have all the pieces of the puzzle.
So if we're going toward a reunification, which is a return, let's say that we get to that point, just, you know, for the sake of argument, then do we have to start over and introduce these children now to another man and other children?
I'm sure we would.
So we're right back at square one,
Yes,
even if it does happen with mom.
yes.
I know you can't give a timeline, but the most they have done currently is they sat through a phone call and looked at some pictures.
Yes,
Yet you described it that they made leaps and bounds.
yes.
If the mere fact of sitting through a phone call or looking at a picture, you consider that to be a leap and a bound, how far really are we from a reunification?
There's a ways to go because of how long this is, and a lot has played into why this took so long. There's been a lot of disagreement on how to move forward. The kids haven't attended sessions. We had to shift where we were going. So there's been a lapse in counseling. That's why this has taken so long. That's one factor. The second factor is once this went well, we would still have to go through all of those steps of reunification, of like a visit there and then an over, and you know, that takes time as well. So this could be a very long time.
And you mentioned that one of the things that could potentially be done for Ms. Webb is getting somebody in the home to help her.
Yes.
If she, having gone through this, again, would need somebody to help her, what would be the plan for Ms. Neerman?
It would have to be the same. She would need extra support in her home at the beginning of a return if that were to ever happen as well.
Thank you. I have nothing to say.
I have a couple questions for you. In your report on the second page, indicated quoting now, Ms. Miller and I provided Ms. Webb with a binder of treatment plans and worksheets and shared different ways to implement these strategies in home. We've also offered one-on-one sessions with her and been contacted in the middle of tantrums to offer support. And then you say it is unknown if Ms. Webb has implemented these treatment plans in the home. Have you asked, and who have you asked about that help in the home?
If they're being implemented in the home.
Correct.
Ms. Webb and I have discussed that in the parking lot, like after sessions are finished. She has just said things don't work. Things aren't working. And so I'm not really clear if she's using all the tools or using them correctly, because we're not able to see it happen at face value. And that's beyond what we can provide to her, which is why we are suggesting somebody else come alongside her.
Okay.
And we totally understand that when that's stressful. And sometimes we forget we can't access all these new tools all at once when we're trying to put out fires in front of us. So this is not to blame her at all. We just aren't sure as to what extent is being implemented.
Okay. You mentioned Stacy Coach or Couch.
Mhm.
What would be the letters after the name or the training or the education or the experience of the person that would do this role if for whatever reason this couch is not available?
They typically are licensed counselors or clinical social workers, and then they have that parent-child interaction treatment certification. That isn't the only treatment out there that would assist her, but it seems to be one of the best ones.
On page, it's the fourth page. Excuse me. You mentioned that Ms. Webb is dealing with significant disruption to her home. Due to the amount of support that is needed, we have requested that CMH increase their services on several occasions, and this was not granted. Who have you spoken to at CMH about that?
We discussed that with Carly Pratt during our team meetings, and she had said that her supervisor would not authorize her to have more time, that her caseload was really full, and that they were going to pull back versus pull in because of all of the things that we were working on with the kids. There's just a disagreement on what they needed.
Okay. Something specific. In the Child and Family Services report, and I don't know if you've had access to that or not, there's a quote from Dr. Christine Dillon, Director of Children's Services for CMH, sent an email apparently in June 18th. It says it's not clinically appropriate or recommended for any child to have more than one clinical-based therapist at one time. Evan has not been able to engage in therapy with Carly for nearly 6 weeks due to his increased dysregulation and difficult behaviors, which can be directly attributed to his continued therapy geared toward reunification with his biological mother. It appears that she is saying that, at least to me, it appears that she is saying that because you're involved, they don't want to get another therapist involved. Do you agree or disagree with that? And if so, why?
I agree with they shouldn't have more than one clinical counselor at a time, but we are not providing Evan with individual clinical trauma treatment at all. So that is where, when we initially started, very clear, my role is different than their role so that he wasn't overwhelmed, because treatments can counteract each other and not work well. So I agree with that statement. I think we don't see that he still needs individual counseling because he's not receiving it from me. I have offered it after I had, because I did read that in an email somewhere. I've offered it to Evan, and Miss Webb was saying he probably wouldn't do it with me. So that's kind of where we left that. But he, as of today, he is not receiving one-on-one trauma counseling for himself.
And the person, Stacy Couch, or similar person with the parent-child interaction, that would not be a violation of this clinical relationship?
Correct, because it's more about the family as a whole, like working in the home to provide support.
So in your estimation, Evan needs individual?
Yes, and I'm not entirely sure where he's at with Miss Pratt in that as of today.
And family needs, family being a foster care family, and the kids need parent-child interaction. Is that therapy, or is that, what do you call that?
Yes, therapy. Parent-child interaction therapy.
All right. Are you receiving all of the assistance that you need to pour into these kids as much as you can?
sometimes. So I think there's times where we are working well together, but then there are times when we're just not seeing the picture clearly. All of us aren't seeing it the same way. I think emails like that are pretty telling that that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to work together, not because we're involved, other people need to lead. We need to all be together for this to work. So I would like to see that improve.
What do you need? What specifically, what do you need, do you think, to give these kids the best opportunity to be reunited with their mother?
To continue working together. So we continue these bi-weekly meetings with all the team members attending. There's oftentimes CMH is not present. I'm not truly aware of what's going on there. And then for us to all set up that Evan is receiving individual trauma counseling. And if he's not, then we need to find a way to get him into that.
So if I were to order bi-weekly meetings with CMH and your agency, Evan to receive individual counseling and parent-child intervention or interaction therapist, is there anything else you would request the court to order?
No.
Just a couple more questions, if I might. Next to last page of your report, talking about when Evan and Erica didn't want to come into you were out in the car and you went out and talked with them at the car. After you said after they were outside the car for about 30 minutes, they agreed to come into the office and finish their sessions with me inside. Both appeared to be emotionally stable and not afraid. They appeared to enjoy having me try to get them to come in. I assess this as their attempt to exert control. First question is that something that would be fairly normal, that the kids would be trying to exert control at this point? And how do you get past that, get beyond that, or deal with that?
We use games to get them out of the car. So we have done like different puppet games or have them hop, like give them options. What do you want to walk like into the office? You get to pick a rabbit or march like a soldier. So once they engage in the game, that's usually how we get them back in. And then there have been I've had conversations with them that sometimes we have to do things you don't want to do, but you're safe here. And if this were unsafe, I'd understand you not wanting to come. So we've had just some real, sometimes we just have to listen to the adults. And they've responded really well to that. And they came in no problem the next week, but that's kind of what we've done.
I want to switch gears for a minute and talk about long-term aspects of the kids. Let's assume the opposite of what we want to have happen, or at least what I want to have happen, is reunification. So the kids don't get reunified with mom for whatever reason. Do the kids need to go through some sort of something similar to what you're doing now to be able to process and become as trauma-free as possible in their adult lives?
Yes. No matter what route this goes, they have a long road of therapy in front of them.
So trying to be as blunt as I can in saying this tearing off of the scab and cleaning out the wound needs to happen whether they're reunited with their mom or not.
Correct.
Is that what you think that you're accomplishing at this point still?
Yes.
All right. Any questions based on mine?
No.
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, man. You may step in.
Thank you. And may I?
Yeah, I have
You can
no,
stay or you can go.
Okay.
Thank
I have no,
Thank you.
Speak for the court, sorry.
Thank you. The next witness, Mr. Summerfeld.
Judge, I'd like to call Lori Miller. She's on.
The court pushes back, questioning if progress is real. Hope meets hard truth. Reunification may be a distant goal.
Good morning, Lori Miller.
All right. Would you raise your right hand so I can swear you in, please? You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Sommerfeld is going to have some questions for you, and then Mr. Delaney, and then Mr. Brown. So Mr. Sommerfeld, go ahead.
Thank you. Judge, I'm gonna come up here. to
Certainly.
the microphone. Ms. Miller, how are you employed?
I'm a contract employee with Lasting Peace Counseling Services.
Okay, and so are you basically a therapist?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and what qualifications or licenses do you hold to provide therapy?
Well, I have a Master's of Social Work from Michigan State University, and I'm a limited licensed Master's Social Worker.
All right, now how long have you had that certification?
I graduated in 2019.
Okay, and have you been counseling children or adults or both?
I've been counseling. The majority of my experience has been with children. I worked in a school before I graduated, and then I transitioned into a therapeutic role. And then I moved over to the Children's Advocacy Center from there, and then started private practice under Jesse Thompson with Lasting Peace.
Okay, have you been qualified as an expert witness before?
Yes, I have.
And in what area specifically?
At Seago County and in Mayo, so I'm trying to remember what county they are. And
Okay,
Ogama County.
Under what specific title you were an expert in what kind of therapy?
I was a school therapist, behavioral health therapist for Mayo schools through Thunder Bay. And I was a therapist with the CAC, Children's Advocacy Center, out of Roscommon.
Okay, but when you've been an expert before, and what I'm trying to ask you, in what specific area, not places that you've provided counseling?
Well, in CBT counseling, I'm certified in EMDR, TFCBT. I'm currently getting certified in a trauma play therapy modality, and I use CBT as well.
Would it be fair then to say that you could be qualified as an expert in treating children's trauma?
Yes.
Okay, Judge, I would ask that she be qualified as an expert in trauma for children, treating that through therapy.
Mr. Delaney?
No objection.
Mr. Brown?
No objection.
So qualified.
All right, thank you, Ms. Miller. Do you know Erica Neerman,
I do.
and how do you know her?
I've been working with her since we started working with the courts.
Okay, and so when you say working, you are providing therapy to her.
Yes, I am.
Okay, and well, how long have you been providing therapy to Erica Neerman?
I believe it's close now to a year and a half.
Okay, and you're aware of the process here in court, a goal of reunification and getting the children prepared for reintroduction to their mom?
Yes, I was I've been operating from we were brought on to determine whether or not reunification was possible.
Okay, and so you've been providing therapy to that end?
Yes, and my end was more with Erica and initially for sure, and just helping her to potentially just providing trauma therapy for her to help her deal with it, because she just wasn't coping well.
Okay, and have you seen, are you aware of instances that after counseling, talking about their mom or getting closer to reintroduction, that the children have some reactions?
I have been made aware of by foster mom that the children have had some big behaviors after some sessions recently, for sure. And then last year when we were making some progress and with Erica disclosing and being able to do that. There were some discussions about that as well.
Okay. Have you witnessed any of these behaviors in Erica while you were counseling her?
Erica has made a lot of progress over the last year and a half in being able to handle, like carry these conversations and handle them in counseling. Initially, she would have like where you would just you call it a shutdown, where you could see where she was just done. But that's not uncommon in children, and that's not uncommon in children who've experienced traumatic events.
So what's your opinion as far as Erica? Is she ready to actually meet with her mom?
I think with the plan being for us to determine whether or not she is able to do that, that would be the next step in this process. Potentially with some more supports and coping and implementing other things to prepare her with that, or maybe some more communications with mom. But if the intent is for us to be able to determine whether or not it is something that can happen, I think she's close to being able to carry that or to handle that. I do think that will come with, it would need to be in an environment that is extremely safe. And we have been creating that for them and her, but I wouldn't do that lightly.
Okay. And so do you interact with Miss Jessie Thompson?
Yes, I do.
Okay, regarding this case, you guys are approaching it as a team?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Do you also have contact with personnel from the department regarding maybe providing things that you need or whatever? Do you have that kind of consultation?
No, I have been taking the approach. Jessie technically is supervising me as far as in a clinical way, and she's been the lead, and I've been more of a support.
Okay.
So it has gone primarily through her.
Okay. Did Erica disclose something at one of the therapy sessions regarding something about her mom choking her?
Yes, she didn't disclose in session, but she did write a letter for me.
Okay.
And so, yes, she did. She disclosed in a letter to me that her mom had choked her, and she was detailed about it. She had shared that her little brother, Evan, was crawling around. Her mom had choked her. She identified where it was at. And then she said her dad had come to pick her up and that she did not want to go. She did not want to go to mom, or she did not want to see mom.
Okay. If you know approximately how old was Erica when this incident, when she said that happened?
I would not know that because she didn't want to talk about that. She wasn't ready to talk about that yet further. But she had to be old enough to remember the details and to remember how to identify that, right?
Okay. Has that changed how you process or focus your efforts for therapy for her?
Well, since then we have done more of a group approach. We were already doing more of a group approach with sessions with that because of because we were asked, the court had asked for us to determine whether reunification is possible. And so it changed in the approach of slowed down the idea of mom and slowed that down, and then did little itty bits, like little bits of titration with mom to see if she could handle it. So in that way, yes, it did.
Okay, so do you, Erica, you said has been in therapy or counseling with you for about 1.5 years?
Yes.
Okay, and so this whole time that she's been in counseling with you, was that in preparation to prepare her, to see her mom again?
No, no, it wasn't. It was to help her. Like when I met her, I had been told that she wasn't really identifying feelings. She wasn't talking about her big emotions. She wasn't able to discuss anything that had been going on. And we know that that's not good for children in post-traumatic experiences in general. And then, of course, with this looming, and this is the reality of why we're sitting here for these kids, that was always also something that I have carried and honestly carried it very heavily for her and Evan. But it was how it was just kind of a balance of both, knowing that that might be something that she would need to do, but also knowing that these other things like enhancing safety, increasing coping skills, her being able to identify her feelings, her being able to disclose anything, and that's been the focus as well.
Has Erica made progress, in your opinion?
She has, like, she's come a really long way as far as just being able to carry, like when I say you could see her shut down, I think that was like where the brain flips. And for her, it was just a shutdown. You could see it. I could see it. There were times initially where I would just kind of, if we were doing anything like an activity that would bring up any of that for her, you could see the shutdown. I covered her with a blanket one time. It's just, so now she is absolutely doing better. She's holding eye contact. She's giving like a thumbs up, a thumbs down. She'll tell me I don't want to do that, and I'm not pushing her because for her, safety is also very important. So I want her to be able to be ready and to be safe to tell. And like when I got that letter, even though they were not coming in that day, which was challenging, one of the things that I had said to her is I'm proud of you for talking and for sharing what you're carrying, because she needs to share. We need to know as well.
Okay. Have you had contact with foster mom Christy Webb?
I have.
And has she told you about issues that she's had at the home and sometimes how hard it is to just manage the children?
Yes. More so in emails, like we get emails that go to the team.
Okay. Does that ever work your way into your therapy, or is that a whole different issue?
In what regard?
The issues of, having knowledge of the children having these behaviors with the foster mom after.
Yeah. Well, this came up again last time as we were like, Erica was disclosing she had shared about dad, she had shared about her little brother. And from what I had been told, that was like huge progress for her. And then the behavior started and we had to kind of shut down again so last year we were in the same position with that. And so because the courts are moving forward and we are moving forward in therapy, it does, knowing that this is the process and this is what we're doing, that would be expected that the behaviors would start to come up. The goal is for them to come up, and disclosures are great for kids who've experienced traumatic events, abuse, we're going to name it. So it's one of those things where, yes, it is difficult, but with that, it's also necessary if the goal is to move forward in this process.
Okay. Are you in favor of continuing this gradual reintroduction for the ultimate goal of actually having a face-to-face meeting between the children and mom?
If mom shows and proves to be safe, if mom shows and proves to be able to do that, as we're exposing and doing these general exposures, I think that will give more. For me to be able to answer that is very difficult. I've only had one interaction with mom, and that was recently, and that was over the phone with the children. So I don't have a lot to base that on as far as mom goes.
Are you aware of a person named John Castle?
No.
Okay. Are you aware that mom has recently admitted being in a relationship with a John Castle?
I was made aware that she had a boyfriend and that she had moved him in.
Okay. Is that another issue, or does that affect how the goal here of reunification, children and mom?
It does. It concerns me.
And when you say concern, can you give us an explanation of what's bothering?
With the intent of reunification with children that have appeared to have been so traumatized that it's taken us 1.5 years to get them to a point where they can even handle having access, having those interactions with mom. It's concerning. It was concerning to me, if I were, and I'm being honest, that if the goal really is that, and I think that he has children in the home as well, what is that going to look like for these kids that are already struggling and asking to not have to go live with mom or have to go see her? And then we're also still having some concerns about getting them even to the spot where they can have an introduction to mom and getting them ready for that. It's not ideal. And do we know him? Is he safe? You look at the propensity of abuse that goes up with step parents in the home. It's one of those things that it's a bell.
Okay. What do you see going forward then? If I understand you, I believe you're saying that Erica has made progress. Where do we go from here? Like, what's the next step?
Well, if from a team approach, if we're continuing to determine if reunification is possible, I think it would be giving more opportunities to see if we're just to really the spot to see if that is something that can happen. If we're looking at it from that lens, then I think we would have to continue in that direction.
Okay. Do you need anything from the court? I mean, the judge can order different things, maybe, you're like going, wow, if I only had this would really help. That's the kind of question I'm asking you. Do you need something from the court?
I wouldn't know how to answer that at this point. I'm open to suggestions if anybody has suggestions of something I could use to benefit to help, but if we could have is there been a background check done? Is there a history of violence? Is there anything like that with this gentleman that would matter? It would be detrimental to these kids to be put in a situation if they had to be exposed to any of that with the history that they have, with the behaviors that they've shown. I think that would be the worst thing that could happen to them. I've shared that. What's the best interest of these little kiddos? So.
Well, thank you. I have nothing further. Some of the other attorneys may have some questions for you.
Mr. Delaney.
Thank you. My name is David Delaney. I'm counsel for Elizabeth in this case. You may know from the history that the children were removed in 2022 when there was an overdose of the father. Is that your understanding?
Yes,
And then at some point, they were placed with Mrs. Webb, is that correct?
that's correct.
And if I told you that for that placement, Mrs. Webb also had children in the home, 2 children, how do you balance those two from a placement by the state with a foster parent that has children, and then children returning to a home that has children? And in both cases, neither are related. Are those two
Well,
a parallel?
No, they're not parallel in my mind because Mrs. Webb does not have a history that biological mom has. She doesn't have the history, and she doesn't have children begging not to have to go there or to see their mom. And so there's that. And with the longevity of the time in foster care, it's also these kids are bonded to the children in Mrs. Webb's care, who, as I understand, have also been given proper services and all of the things that they need. So it's a different situation completely because we're looking at it from a different lens. It's a safety.
The incident with Erica and her mother, in that information, you indicated Erica had mentioned her dad was going to or was picking Erica up at the time. So she mentioned her dad.
That's correct.
Okay. So Erica was born in 2017. Eric, her father, passed in 2022. So this incident being reported, if everything is accurate, we haven't seen that, would have happened when she was no older than 4 or 5 years old.
Okay.
I'm just asking you, right? Mathematically?
Mathematically, yes.
Okay. And could it have happened when she was 2? Would a child remember that at 2 and then be able to report it again at 10? That's not my field to know when kids can remember things. Obviously, 5 days old, I don't think it's possible to remember anything, but when can you start to remember things as a child later?
Well, that's kind of a continuum. However, typically after 3, so 4 and 5, children do tend to remember and are able to verbalize. You see the big behaviors from children 3 and under, and they sometimes can disclose, but as far as they do disclose, typically in their own little ways. But as far as remembering, 4, 5, 6 is when I think it's most common. I have worked with an adult who remember trauma from 2 and 3, but that is a continuum.
So this incident could have happened 5 years ago, theoretically. She was 3 or 4.
Well, I don't believe she would have really been able to verbalize the details. And if her little brother is 3 years younger than her, and he would have been crawling. So I think that gives us a better insight. So if is he 6 now? And
He was born in 2018.
And he was in foster care.
So he would only be because he's at December and she's in April, you get that extra gap. But they're a year apart roughly by birth year anyway. So his age wouldn't be that different. And did it in your field, because you work with children in trauma, there's been a lot of foster care involvement in this case since the 2022 removal. So did it surprise you largely that she hadn't reported it until now? She's had foster parents and therapists and.
It doesn't at all surprise me that she hasn't reported it until now, because she did not have, it's not uncommon for kids in post-traumatic experience and memories, even when they're safe, they're carrying those things, and she didn't seem to have the ability or the coping or the ability to even hold that until now. She's in a safety. She's used to me. She's used to Jesse. She's doing better, and she's had some time to be safe. We know kids disclose. The safer they get, the more they disclose. So no, that does not surprise me.
On the other hand, we've not had a hearing on that issue. In other words, the mother hasn't weighed in on her response to that statement, to your knowledge.
Right. I believe she said that never happened.
Okay. A safe environment for a visit. What do you think that would look like? And I was trying, because this is not my field, what a safe environment would look like for a child. And my reaction to that, having raised children, was outside, an Easter egg hunt. Lots of people, a very positive environment, not even the stress of Christmas, which can be stressful, and a lot of activity, and there's no stress on anybody. And it's a fun thing to do. It's very colorful. That's the best example I could think of for a person that's not a child therapist for a safe environment. Am I anywhere close to being correct?
I guess I like determining the safety factors. If the children are and mom is ready, children are ready, and it's an environment that would probably involve me, Jesse. I would guess foster mom if she was able, and mom in a very small dose. Very small dose. And that could be in our office because the kids are used to our office. We could do it outside, but it's not like they're gonna get together and play, because the children, even in the phone call, didn't want to respond. And so I wouldn't view that as like a visit if you're considering like, oh, they're gonna play and talk, and that's not where these kids are at. So it would just be an introduction.
So even an office would work, because even though I can see a little bit of your office, it has a small clinical aspect to it. It's a white wall it's an office, not a home, which is what you'd expect, but they have some safe factors there. They feel comfortable there. So even though the office is a business, if you will, it would be an environment that's a possible and then I'm not suggesting it this afternoon.
Well,
But,
you're talking about a visit with us facilitating, introducing.
yes, and the mother, what would that look like? Where would it be, or just not there yet?
I would defer that to Jessie because she's more of a lead in that area. So I would be deferring that.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Mr. Brown?
No question.
I do not have any questions. Thank you very much, ma'am. We appreciate you being with us. You're free to go.
Thank you.
Sommerfeld, any other witnesses?
I have one more witness. Could we take a brief break for like 5 minutes?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Your witness, Clarissa?
Yes. Okay. That's all right.
Clarissa Redmond, Redmond.
Mr. Sommerfeld.
Thank you. Ms. Redmond, how are you employed?
I am a program supervisor at Child and Family Services, but I am also the case manager on this file.
Okay, and this is like the only foster care case that you are still continuing?
Correct.
Okay, and how long have you been the worker on this case?
Since August 2023.
Okay. That's about the same time that the children did not want to see their mom anymore after an incident at a Child and Family Services.
That's correct.
Okay. So let's talk about Mr. Castle. You know who this person is, John Castle?
I do.
Okay, and we've heard his name, about the last 2 years. Is that a correct statement?
Yes, I believe our first hearing mention of him was in September 2023, when there was a domestic incident at the home in which Mr. Castle was named as Liz's boyfriend in a police report.
Okay, and then, but mom has consistently said that Mr. Castle is only the landlord.
That's correct. And she maintained.
Behind the reports lies a theme: promises unmet, truth unclear.
Weren't there some things that he didn't really agree with, or say that he won't do that, or he asked for, well, when this happens first, then I will do that?
Yeah, so I had requested that Mr. Castle sign a release for me to talk with his probation officer through Crawford County. There was a different incident than the incident I was referring to earlier, where Liz and John were pulled over by the police and he was arrested for operating while intoxicated with the children in the car. That was during the pendency of this petition. So knowing that that had happened, combined with a former incident, a domestic violent related incident involving his former partner, I wanted to confirm with the probation officer that he was in fact, following his probation requirements, doing everything that he is supposed to, and just check that out. And he said that he would not sign that release until they had a visit with the kids.
Stop.
I had asked him that he insisted though that I wouldn't find anything concerning, that he was in compliance with his requirements. So I had also offered him the alternative of contacting his PO and getting a letter himself to provide to me in lieu of the release and me contacting myself. That didn't happen either.
I went through your updated service plan. This was report date of August 9 of 2025, the case service plan. There was, and you know how they're structured, like, these are certain contacts and you write down what happened that day, who you talked to. You're familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay. There was one in there where it said you were doing, I think it was in July of this year, an unannounced visit, and you called Elizabeth, the mom, and you got no answer, and then you showed up at the house. And tell us what happened next.
I found Ms. Neerman sitting on the front steps of the porch with her phone in hand that she quickly put in her pocket, and then she greeted me.
Okay. So she didn't answer the phone call when you called?
Correct.
Okay. And what was the time frame as far as, like, were you almost at her house when you called?
I was probably less than 1 minute away.
Okay.
It was just turning the corner. Even when I do unannounced visits, I still do call with this family because of the animals present
The
in the home.
dogs, yeah. These dogs, what kind of dogs are they? Your reports always indicate that, we need to take care of the dogs first before I can communicate with you and actually go into the house.
I am no dog expert by any means, but they are large animals that could potentially cause harm to me. They are pit bull, boxer-like large dogs.
And I mean, you said you're not a dog person, but enough for you to think like, hey, maybe I have to be careful here because I'm a
Correct.
stranger.
Yes, I don't frequently go to the home. I'm not a regular face there, so I don't believe that the dogs would recognize me. And I don't know how the dogs have been trained as far as when people they don't recognize show up at the home.
Okay. So when I look at your parent agency treatment plan, well, before I go to there, you and I were talking this morning a little bit. Last time, I believe the court did order that mom was supposed to sign releases. Are you
Correct.
familiar with that? Okay. And you were telling me something about how there was a signed release and now it's been revoked. Tell us about that.
I had requested that Ms. Neerman sign a release for Mid-Michigan Addiction Clinic to get her recent Suboxone records, or well, addiction related records, mostly related to her Suboxone prescription. I had sent out that release requesting the records and got a call back on Tuesday of this week from the clinic indicating that Ms. Neerman had came in for her appointment and they consulted with her on sending the records and she opted out of sending them and did not want any of them sent over. So that provider called me Tuesday and shared that she didn't want the records shared and they would not be sent. And I have not received anything.
Okay. And the purpose of these records is to be able to report information to the court?
Correct. And Ms. Neerman has been sharing with me that she's looking at decreasing her dose of Suboxone in an attempt to get off of it. So I wanted to see if there was any validity and truthfulness to that statement, but without getting those records, I can't confirm that.
Okay. Aren't there other things you haven't been able to confirm or verify throughout this case? That's like a theme?
It is a theme. During my home visit with Mr. Castle and Elizabeth, I provided them with budgeting worksheets to better assess financial stability for the household. I provided multiple copies in case there was a mistake on one or life happens. And I followed up at my last home visit in September last week on those, asked Liz to please provide them to me. She admitted that she hadn't yet completed them. I asked her to please prioritize it over the weekend and get it back to me in preparation for today's hearing. And she told me she was going out of town for the weekend.
Okay.
I have not received them.
When my review of the parent agency treatment plan that was dated August 9th, 2025, every one of the need domains is marked as partial progress. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, but I would describe it as kind of like an ebb and flow. Sometimes we see some progress over here, but then, the next reporting period, we won't. For example, her medications. There are periods of times where she will consistently test positive for all her medications, but then there's been lots of times where she has not. So it's hard to say, there's been consistent progress, but there has been partial throughout.
Okay, and on page 2 of your court report, it shows there are some different medications that are missing and sometimes negative for all medications.
Correct.
You say that you think, this is also on page 2 of your court report at the bottom, that while there have been instances of, I would say friction with the workers, your relationship with the department, that Ms. Neerman there's less of that, but you don't believe that it's that genuine. Tell me why.
I hear a lot of talk and I don't see a lot of action. I've heard since I started going to the home to visit Elizabeth that, she was working on the kids' bedroom. We are still in the same predicament as we were months ago. I'm sorry, I heard her whisper something and I lost my train of thought. Can you repeat your question?
No, you were talking about, my question was, I got the impression, and I'm asking you to comment on it, that you don't believe emotional stability, that Ms. Neerman controls herself much better. You don't believe it to be a really genuine result of services or progress.
Correct. And something that happened previously, which was telling of that to me, was when she accidentally sent me a text message intended for Melanie, referring to, I think it was calling, I don't remember the exact text message, it was a while ago now, but referring to me in profanities. I think it's right. I think her I think she's participating in services. I think that she has a good relationship with Melanie. I think that they can talk about certain topics, but I don't think they've actually taken a deep dive into the trauma and how we got to this point and what's going to change into the future.
Tell us, you see the foster mom, Christy Webb, a lot,
Yes,
and you have a lot of communication with her, probably more than you would like, right?
don't tell her that, but yes,
Yeah. So, and it's always in regards to the children and their behaviors.
correct. And yes, but also me reaching out to just make sure everything's okay and providing support.
Do you believe that they're in a good placement with Miss Webb?
I do.
And tell me why.
Ms. Webb has diligently hung on through the last 2.5 years through these behaviors that have been violent, increasingly violent, especially over the last, week or so. We've been in placement preservation mode since I started this case. I don't know anybody in my life that is willing to continue to be victimized on a regular basis to the extent that Miss Webb has. And she's continued to stick it out and be there for the kids through the tears, through the punches, the bites, the hitting, the slapping, the yelling, the screaming, the tantrums, because, she knows these kids deserve it.
Okay.
She's met all of their needs for medical, dental, education, vision, and also extracurriculars and making them well-rounded humans. They love her, they're attached to her, they're bonded to her, and they have to be torn from her arms when brought to school recently. They do it very well in her care.
May I be quiet, please?
So, Ms. Redmond is.
It was me, Judge, not her. I talked. Sorry.
This is a courtroom.
I apologize.
Go ahead, Mr. Silverthorne.
Thank you. Ms. Redmond, is Elizabeth, is she ready to parent her children right now?
She's not.
What, I mean, this case is really over 3 years. We have not seen the benefit and services to reduce barriers to reunite the children.
Each missing piece deepens doubt about mom's true readiness.
It's not your intention just to stop things, that I can see us doing another review period, perhaps getting to that point where the children do meet mom, and then the court has that information. Thank you.
I hope also to be brief, as was counsel in this case, the court and now really knows the record well in this case. The predecessor court did not terminate, and then this court also followed that direction. And to quote the court, which I think was accurate, the children may go through hell. And now we come back, and I've never heard this in this case before, leaps and bounds. That's the testimony of the witness. That's really on ground zero in this case. So I was very pleased to hear that information. I was also pleased that the John Castle thing was finally resolved. I mean, some of that has to do with Elizabeth's disagreement, to be light, with the department, so that she was battling with them, and when she felt it was appropriate to put that on the table. And now it presents those two curves. And we're not on curve 2, but curve 2 could come very quickly if we get through curve 1. And will it be traumatic? We don't know. Who is Mr. Castle? What are his children? Going to a new home, and the court's done divorce work and plenty of criminal work, cannot always be a positive in a divorce, but it can be a positive. We've had some cases we closed here recently with a new dad, not the father, was very supportive in the family. I think the jury is still out on that question. When I come to these types of hearings, I would prefer that we look just at what Elizabeth has done in the last time frame from the reporting period, but we always go back to the whole case. And I'm well aware of the death from the overdose and the removal and all of those issues, which forces me to go back into that period of time where from August of 23 to March of 24, there was no parenting time. That traumatized these children. Elizabeth had her fair share in this game. She's the parent. She was using the drugs with the father. But I like to put all those things in the rearview mirror. And often doesn't happen at these hearings because the department chooses to go back over the whole history. So when the department said, gee, it's been 3 years, this has been too long. Well, that was a pivotal period for my representation of her. And it was in May or April when we started to get lasting peace involved. And now we can start to make that progress, which I think has happened in this case. With respect to the medical marijuana, I think I speak for myself and maybe Mr. Brown and possibly counsel here. I'm an old school. I don't believe in that marijuana either. I didn't like it when the state of Michigan legalized it. I bet the court has prosecuted hundreds of marijuana cases, and now we don't. And is it a substitute for something else? The court handles the drug court. It's legal. And so but I don't think the court could rest its hat completely on that issue, but it does raise an issue. And I do know some people that use the gummies that they say, who I thought were old school people like me that said, no, it has helped me. I certainly don't get involved in it. But so I'm going to leave that to the lower echelon of this type of case. But this is the first most positive case report I've had since I've been involved in this case. And I was right here at the beginning. I mean, I was here within days of the removal, and the trauma was off the charts, which I didn't realize until I worked on this case for 3 years, what that actually meant and what my client was going through. But she's clean. She's not using the cocaine, opiates, morphine, and fentanyl. That's amazing. But we have more work to do. And I think that the court made the right call by continuing this case because you got the leaps and bounds report. Thank you.
Mr. Brown.
Your Honor, I do want to make I guess, a different take on what this committee said as far as leaps and bounds. When I think of somebody making a leap and a bound, I think I'm doing something just amazing and wow, you made this huge progress. The leap and the bound was being able to look at their mother's picture and hear her voice. That was the leaps and bounds, and they considered that a leap and a bound. But they also said that this is going to take a long time. We're going to be at this for years, potentially. When asked, it was whether or not, what do we do? Do we rip the Band-Aid off and just do a visit and see how it goes, see how they react, see how Ms. Newman reacts? And I don't think she had a clear answer. It is something she had thrown around in her mind. Do we do that? Or do we just push this out for months and months or years down the road? Because it doesn't seem like there's an in-between. It's either do it now or we're going to take forever, or, that's if it's a reunification. Couple of things that concerning with me about mom is, and it was brought up, she's clearly got some health issues. She's got a bad lung, needs a lung transplant. It will not give up some of the things that would be healthier for her, but not just for her kids. She wants her kids returned. One of the best things she could do if she really wants her kids back is take care of herself so she can be there for them. And probably the thing that bothered me the most, and honestly, was when I asked Ms. Hunt if she thought this would be a barrier, or thinks this is a barrier, this new relationship. Honestly, I was expecting a different answer. I was thinking she would say, no, she had no idea that this would. But the very fact that and that's probably why she hid it for so long, very fact that she knows and knew, yeah, this has been going on for 2.5 years, and I know this is going to push it out a little bit farther, kind of tells me where her priorities are here. These kids have been in care way too long. And to get into a relationship, and I'm not making a judgment about the relationship or anything like that. Although everybody testified, the professionals, the experts testified, this is going to set things back. And I was hoping that she didn't know that, but now would, and maybe, but to actually know that it's going to push it back. And To me, that is putting those kids, knowing everything they're going through, they do need permanency. That's putting them a little lower on the priority list.
Thank you all very much. This is not an easy case, and that's probably the understatement of the year. It's never going to be an easy case. Nobody is going to be happy. And quite frankly, I'm not worried about whether people are happy or not. My focus has to be on what is best for the children. I am proceeding the way I am proceeding. This case is proceeding the way it's proceeding because I'm convinced at this point in the children's rehabilitation or trauma management, or however you want to put it, I think they need to go through what they're going through, whether or not they're reunited with their mom. That's my bottom line. They need to go through, they need to deal with the trauma that they have gone through fully as they are capable of now, so that they are not still dealing with it in their teenage years when nobody can reach them. That time in my mind is coming, and we need to give them every tool to deal with it now as opposed to later. If mom is ready for the children's return when the children are ready, we'll get to it. But quite frankly, in my mind, at this point, given the length of time that we've already come, that is secondary. So mom, you need to be aware that whenever the kids are ready, if you're not, you're done. You're spent, the time that you have now is the only time that you're going to get. And quite frankly, by every treatment modality, by every counselor, by every report that I've ever read, both as a prosecutor and as a defense attorney, as a judge, I've gone above and beyond in giving you time to be ready. So just know that there's a day coming when I'm going to say it's been enough. And if you're not ready at that point, and you're not today, I've given you every opportunity. I've gone above and beyond. Now, having said that, I need to tell you that you have made progress, and I recognize that. I am pleased that you are now doing the AA and NA, and I've seen in the report that you've made that decision and you're going full force at it and you're doing the right thing, and I'm pleased with that. So thank you. I see you making strides with your counselor, Ms. Hunt, and I'm pleased that you're talking about the things that she indicated that you're talking about. It appears to me that you are recognizing that you've got some things to do and you need to put some time into the rehabilitation process, and you need to work on those things, and that is good. But I've got to say, your reluctance to trust Ms. Redmond's recommendations are continuing to set you back. Whether you like them or not, they're being made for a reason, and you've got to be 100% honest with them at all times. I'm glad you made the decision to say, hey, I'm in a relationship with John Castle, and I'm going to tell you about it. But the fact that you wouldn't for so long, when it was so obvious, it's just one of those things that you're running an uphill battle with me on that. Okay. Similar kind of thing with the marijuana in your life. Is it a substance that you can use? Yeah, Michigan allows you to use it recreationally, but it's not on a medical side of things. It's not indicated. You talk to any doctor, it's not indicated when you're on Suboxone. They just say, no, you shouldn't be using it, period. And then I don't care how you're getting it. You're still smoking cigarettes when your doctor's telling you, hey, you're going to need a lung transplant. I mean, why are we going through all of this if you're just going to kill yourself? I mean, that's as blunt as I can be. I don't want you to die. I want you to get reunited with your kids. I think that would be a tragedy for your kids if it gets to the point where they got a lung ready for you and you can't accept it. You can't have it because you haven't been free of smoking for 6 months. You haven't stopped using the marijuana for 6 months. Do you think that they're going to give you a lung from somebody else if you're abusing marijuana and cigarettes? I mean, come on. So while you've made substantive progress, I take Mr. Brown's point. Let me give you this analogy. It's like a submarine. You've gone from being 500 feet below the surface to being 200 feet below the surface, but you're still not up to the surface yet. And your kids need you out of the water. They need you on dry land. They need you available to them. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to follow the recommendations, most of them, and I'm going to add to them a little bit. So Erica and Evan will remain under the jurisdiction of the Otsego County Family Court, referred to the department and or its supervising agency for care and supervision. Erica and Evan will remain in their current placements. And Ms. Redmond, I don't know how to express this strongly enough. If you would let Ms. Webb know that I am so impressed with her that I can't put it into words how much it means to me to have her do this much for those kids. I have not been here as a judge a year yet, but I've been a judge previously for an Indian tribe for 2.5 years. I've been a prosecutor doing neglect and abuse cases for almost 20 years. I've been on the defense side for 15 years. So in 37 plus years of doing this kind of stuff, I have yet to see anybody do as much as she has for these children. So if you would go to her and say, hey, the judge is so impressed with you. I know that probably means very little to her, but that's all I can offer her. So,
I think it will mean something. Thank you, Judge.
and so she needs to know that she's awesome. And ask her to please do everything she can to continue it. And I'm going to try my very best to get her as much assistance as possible. And I know that you are too, so continue to do that. So Erica and Evan will remain in their current placements. Elizabeth and Mr. Castle must follow all the aspects of the parent agency treatment plan. Before I go any further, I have to say to Ms. Neerman, this is another one of those areas where you're making life unnecessarily difficult for yourself. I cannot and I will not tell you that you can't have John Castle in your life. That is a personal decision that you will make. That's totally up to you. And I want you to hear that directly from me. On the other hand, I, as the judge in your case, deciding whether or not you get your kids back, have to take Mr. Castle into account. And the fact that he has a drinking and driving with kids in the car conviction on his record, the fact that he has a prior domestic violence, I don't know if it's a conviction or an incident, with another living together partner, makes that decision that much more difficult. The fact that he has kids in the household only escalates that problem, because your kids can't come home until I'm convinced that he's safe, and his kids are going to only make your kids coming back that much more difficult. So you get to choose how you live your life, but I have to choose whether or not your kids come back to you or not. And I'm telling you that that piece of the puzzle is extremely concerning to me for a lot of different reasons. And I hope that you're hearing me right now. So Mr. Castle, because he's in the home, And as long as he stays in the home, we'll have to abide by the parent agency treatment plan put together for or by Ms. Redmond and her agency. The permanency goal will remain for now as reunification. I have heard the leaps and bounds that the children have made. I have seen the progress that mom, minimal as it is, but still with progress that mom has made, and I think she's making an effort to do so. I need her to redouble her efforts, but she is making progress, and I note that, and I'm pleased with that. I note Mr. Brown's argument as to the leaps and bounds perspective of the kids, but they are making progress there, and I want to continue that as well. So in order to assist that process, my order is also going to be that CFS and the department pursue individual counseling for Evan. That the department and CFS pursue family parent child interaction therapy or something similar through Ms. Couch or a similar person, so that there is additional assistance provided to Ms. Webb. And I would also like them to continue to pursue the aid through DHHS as well. I'm going to ask both the department, CFS, and Lasting Peace Counseling to redouble their efforts on, I'm just going to put it as playing nice. I'm a coach of high school kids, and that's the language that they understand. So I'm just going to leave it that way. The effort, I believe that both sides are trying their best to do what they think is right. And I can't say that that's the wrong thing to do. However, when there is a known disagreement, at some point, we all need to get along to be a better team. And right now, the team, which I'm coaching at the moment, to continue the analogy, I've made a decision about which plays we're going to run. And so I need my teammates, I need my team to run the plays as I put them into place. And I'm not assigning blame. I'm not saying one teammate is doing less or more than the others, but they need to play as a team. And so please, for the sake of the kids, let's do that. So all team members, including Ms. Miller, need to be present for team meetings. Okay, so we'll put that in the report. And then John Castle must cooperate with the parent agency treatment plan, including signing all releases that are necessary for your agency to know the information about him. And mom, you need to sign whatever releases, if you haven't already, so they have all information about you. Not cooperating will tell me everything that I need to know about whether or not you need your kids back or not. Understand what I just said? All right, the last thing, and that I have not dealt with because I do think it is a smaller issue. Mom, the house is not ready for the kids to come back. I know that you know that they're not coming back tomorrow. Okay, but how many different times do I need to hear from Ms. Redmond that the house is not ready for the kids to come back?
She wasn't honest because the only thing I have left to do is carpet. The last thing I have to do is carpet, and
Okay.
their room is done.
How many months now has the place not had carpet?
Their bedroom is the only thing that needs carpet.
How many months?
It's painted. It
How
has
many?
everything on
Listen
it
to
but
my
carpet.
question. Listen to my question. How many months has the room needed carpet?
It'll be in this week.
That's all I needed to hear. Okay, so let's just.
And
That,
then can I provide pictures so that way she comes in next time and says it's not ready? I'll provide pictures.
you absolutely can do whatever you and your attorney need to do to show me that you're complying. Okay, I'm not stopping that in the least. I'm just saying, let's not keep any loose ends. Loose ends. Does that make sense? All right. I'm not trying to make you mad. I'm not trying to do anything other than to say, you need to be ready. for those kids to come home. Everything needs to be done. Once you've got everything ready for those kids to come home, then as soon as they are ready, I have the ability to give you those kids back. Right now, the kids aren't ready, but they're making progress. The issue is you're not ready either. There's certain things that you need to do. So let's get those things done so that you don't have to wait 1 second longer than you need to. That makes sense?
Mhm.
All right. So mom's going to be 100% honest in all her interactions with service providers. Mom's going to continue to do everything that she can in her power to get rid of substance abuse issues. Marijuana, tobacco, whatever it is. Mom's going to continue to do positive things with her counselor, Melanie Hunt. I thought that was good that I heard from her today. I appreciate that. Mom's going to have the house prepared for the kids. Mom's going to do whatever she needs to do for her physical health so that if the transplant is available, you can have that so that you can last so many more years and have your kids with you. And you're going to make a decision about what you want to do with your relationship with Mr. Castle and his kids. Right? The department's going to cooperate. The department's going to do everything that they can to get more assistance to Ms. Webb. Deal with the family parent-child interaction therapy, individual counseling for Evan, and they're going to cooperate with lasting peace counseling and CFS, and both sides will play nice. That will be the order of the court.
They'll keep you informed about the shutdown, okay?
Thank you. Somehow I think if there is one, I may hear about it. Court will be in.
Here it is, the turning point. The mother is not ready. Years of service, but denial keeps trust broken and fragile. And that wraps up today's breakdown. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.